Adult animated sitcoms have been around for a while and have become a very big staple of pop culture. A lot of the big names being The Simpsons, Family Guy, Rick and Morty, South Park, A Robot Chicken, Big Mouth. And as I've started to watch Family Guy and more other animated sitcoms, I've noticed an uncomfortably major onslaught of child abuse or just abusive relationships in general, and to make it worse, it's humorized. Now, don't get me wrong, violence and physical comedy have been a very big staple in a lot of comedies and anime shows. But I think there is a bit of a difference between a character falling down the stairs or a character having their rival get tricked to shoot themselves and turn out fine, to a father seeing their daughter and shooting them till they die just for breathing the same air as them. A bit much, don't you think? And that's what today's episode is about. I want to talk about how Family Guy really does not take abuse seriously and almost glorifies it. So, like I said before, let's talk about one of the biggest instigators of child abuse here. Family Guy. Oh boy. Where do we begin? First, before you start saying, oh, Family Guy doesn't make fun of abusive behavior, do we watch the same show? This is the same show that has a gag of Quagmire throwing himself onto Marge Simpson and then shooting her and her entire family and the baby.
Ah! Get off my wife!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
You shot my homie! I'm calling the police!
Ay, caramba! Mom and Dad are dead!
One of the biggest examples in the show about how they humorize abuse, or in this instance, child abuse, is... Okay, you know what I'm going to say. 3, 2, 1, Stewie Griffin. Yeah, it's actually Stewie. Lest we forget how there is an entire episode where Stewie is getting abused by his babysitter, and Brian just lets it happen because he's in love with his babysitter. Or when Stewie is left in a boiling hot car for hours, or when Lois almost drowns him in their toilet, or when Peter whips him across the face and he starts bleeding. But jokes aside, no. Meg has to be the biggest example of what I am talking about today. I don't think I really need to say why, but if you want, here.
Go, honey.
Hi, Dad.
Am I ugly?
Where'd you get a stupid idea like that?
Craig Hoffman.
Well, he's a sharp kid. You might be ugly.
Here comes Peter. Meg! Brian's the new Meg!
Yeah, you're the new me!
Shut up, Meg.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Maybe funny, but it's bad. Meg has been beaten, spat on, farted on, had burnt signatures onto her, and shot for existing. This humorizing of abuse feels distasteful. And you may say, dude, Family Guy is a comedy. They need to be chaotic and abusive to be silly. No, they do not. Look at Bob and Linda from Bob's Burgers. They are a chaotic couple and are quirky, but they are also endearing and sweet to their children.
Come on. You know all that so-called dangerous stuff? That's a part of who you are, but don't let anyone make you feel like it's all you are. You're also thoughtful and kind and imaginative. Part of the big crazy mix that makes Louise Louise.
Family Guy has little to none of these. Or at least they are very far in between, as I just said. For example, episodes such as Crimson Meg Demeanor and Meg Stings are good episodes where Peter actually does bond with Meg. However, there's also episodes like Road to Rupert where Peter only bonds with Meg because he sees that Meg can fight back, and he literally says, though he'll still abuse her, he cares about her. Are you fucking kidding me right now? And the show knows that the Meg abuse is getting messed up. In one of the most infamous episodes of the show, Seahorse Seashell Party, this is basically the writer's lampshading for 25 minutes. For context, lampshading is a trick writers use to point out characters' actions and something problematic about the plot. Deadpool and quite a few other adult anime comedies being an example of this.
gonna wait out here, okay? It's a big house. It's funny that I only ever see two of you. It's almost like the studio couldn't afford another X-Man.
But nothing really big changes after these little moments of acknowledgement. The whole episode, for the second half at least, is Meg finally calling out Lois and Peter's behavior to her and everything they've done in general.
Are you? Are you a better person?
What's your point, Meg?
My point is that with all the irresponsible, reckless, idiotic behavior in your past, that somehow you have the nerve, the arrogance to consistently and ruthlessly point out my shortcomings.
All right, well, fine. Okay, I'm not the perfect mother. Who is?
Oh, not only are you not the perfect mother, you're the furthest thing from the moment you gave birth to me. I had to trust you. I had no choice. I needed you to protect me from the world, to be my guide, to help me navigate the difficult, confusing, and vulnerable journey to becoming a person. You have done none of those things. You're my mother, and you took a child's trust and smashed it into bits in a 17-year-long mission to destroy something that you killed a long time ago. And honestly, when I turn 18, I don't know that I ever want to see you again.
So yes, the show called them out, and Meg is done being the punching bag. Yay! Maybe they can actually look at themselves and maybe finally take a step to being a better person. And sorry, I had a little tickle in my throat. So yeah, maybe Meg and the rest of the family can finally. I'm sorry. The idea of them being a normal family for once. The fathoming of them being in a healthy relationship. I'm sorry. Nah. Because, now that Meg is no longer the punching bag, they start fighting with each other and arguing. Then Meg says that it's her purpose in life to be abused by her family and live miserably so they don't have to. What? No! 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 You do not have to be miserable just for your abusers to be happy. That is literally the worst option you could choose. You had one step out of the door and then you forgot where the door was and went far, far away from it. Now, I will say, Meg has been getting a bit more done with her other than just being the punching bag. Like in the most recent season, she had a relationship with the son of the giant chicken, who's Peter's nemesis, and also tries teaching Peter how to throw a pitch. But still, she has been the butt of the joke for quite a while now, and it seems to get the short end of the stick all the time, and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. Now, there's a few other examples of abusive relationships in Family Guy that I just want to go through, just so you get the point. Peter harassment. Peter gets sexually harassed by his boss, who threatens to fire him, and when he says that he's not going to be sexually assaulted, she tries to commit suicide, saying that no one loves her, and instead of, getting her help, or, keeping to his word about not letting her sexually abuse him, he lets her because she is lonely. And then lets his friend take more sexual abuse from his boss. Another example of abuse in Family Guy is Screams of Silence, which came after Meg's infamous, I have to stay in an abusive relationship so they aren't miserable, but I am. And this episode is what ticks me off. I would be okay with Family Guy in its long-lasting violence if it wasn't for the fact that they then instantly turn the other way and say, oh yeah, abusive relationships are awful, while they still played it for laughs. In this whole episode, it's about Quagmire's sister getting abused by her boyfriend over the top, and it's hard to tell if they're actually trying to treat this like a serious subject or as a joke. And then Quagmire, the pervert, mind you, is trying to talk about how women are a beautiful thing. Choose literally any other character to do this topic on. And also, Family Guy isn't the only series to also depict or humorize abuse. As in Rick and Morty, Rick does this constantly to Morty, by either pointing out how worthless he is, saying how replaceable he is, like in this episode where he literally says that anything's better than Morty.
Looking forward to this. Behold, my wheel of better things than Morty.
What are you, 8? Is this macaroni art? You expect me to believe you built this because you don't care?
No, I built this because I don't expect shit from you. Come on, anything but Morty. Let's go. Come on, baby. No whammies. Stop. Okay, that's it. 2 crows. You're fired.
You know what, memories? I know you're real because I have a ton of bad memories with you.
Those memories that we had. Those memories that we cherish. I wish that we can go back to that time.
So now I want to take a little step back. Now, as I just said, a lot of animated sitcoms depict or humorize abuse, as you just saw. Now, there is one adult animated sitcom that both sometimes makes fun of it, but also accurately shows the everlasting effects of it. Bojack Horseman. Good lord, I love this show. What started off as some run-of-the-mill dark humor adult comedy like any other show playing at the time, this show quickly became one of the best animated shows to come out of Netflix, maybe the best adult animated cartoon of the time. Bojack, for those who don't know, is a washed-up actor who is trying to get people to remember his name as he struggles with his addictions and toxic behavior. Now, many YouTubers have talked about this show to death. I really recommend watching any of Johnny Tucello's videos, analysis on Bojack. They really dig deep into each episode and why it's so impactful and perfect. Back to the subject, like I hinted at, season 1 was considered the weakest in the show as it feels like they really didn't know where they wanted to take the show, as seen with how they first treat Bojack and the abusive relationship with his father as a little bit of a laugh.
Happy Father's Day, Daddy.
What is this supposed to be, a lima bean?
It's a heart.
That's some shoddy craftsmanship, son.
I tried my best.
No, you didn't. You slacked off and took the easy way out. In this world, you can either do things the easy way or the right way. You take a boat from here to New York. You gonna go around the Horn like a gentleman or cut through the Panama Canal like some kind of Democrat?
The canal?
You go around the Horn the way God intended.
However, by the end of the series, we see how this abuse he was put through impacted him for the rest of his life, such as how he got his smoking habits from his parents, or how his mom forced Bojack to dance for her friends even when he didn't want to, which then spirals into a motto that he follows for the rest of his life, and then pushes onto a young girl while they're 3 years old. Then we see Bojack, years later, go onto TV just so he could get validation, which never ends up happening. And even at his mom's death, he still is impacted by what they did, as he talks about how they never ever cared about them, and even when he thought they did, it never actually ended up being about them.
It's the last thing she said to me. I see you. Not a statement of judgment or disappointment, just acceptance and the simple recognition of another person in a room. Hello there. You are a person, and I see you. Let me tell you, it's a weird thing to feel at 54 years old that for the first time in your life, your mother sees you. It's an odd realization that that's the thing that you've been missing, the only thing that you wanted all along, to be seen. Going back to that moment in the ICU when she looked at me and, I see you. I see you. Jesus Christ. We were in the intensive care unit. She was just reading a sign. You'll never have the good relationship you wanted, and as long as they were alive, even though you'd never admit it, part of you, the stupidest goddamn part of you, was still holding on to that chance, and you didn't even realize it until that chance went away. My mother is dead, and everything is worse now. Because now I know I will never have a mother who looks at me from across the room and says, Bojack Horseman, I see you.
This is how you depict abuse. If you're going to try to be funny about it, at least acknowledge the lasting impacts it has, or at least don't make it where the person abusing is actually being funny or a good person. Now, I don't expect Peter Griffin to turn into a soap opera about his drug or beer addiction, or have an episode where Lois gets sexually assaulted and we watch as she has PTSD about it for the rest of her life. But if you're going to show abuse and acknowledge that it's a bad, at least take it seriously. I wouldn't have as much of a problem with Family Guy's abusive behavior if they didn't literally try to make an episode about anti-abusive relationships and still treat it like it's a giant joke at the same time. But if you're going to do an episode about abuse, if you're going to joke about abuse and then also instantly say that it's wrong, at least take it seriously. Now, don't exaggerate and play it like a joke. Now, Family Guy isn't the only show to treat abuse like a joke. Shows like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, South Park, even The Giving Tree, apparently. Yeah, people say that supports abusive relationships with a boy constantly taking stuff away from another person. But what's important is that we actually point out and acknowledge that abuse is not funny, and that shows like Family Guy need to treat domestic abuse seriously and treat these serious subjects like with respect.